everyone, and welcome to Southeastern Admin's Pivot Table 101 lesson. Southeastern Admin specializes in getting you organized, and part of being organized is being able to find your data and finding it quickly. My name is Laura Zibman, and today I'll be showing you the basics of creating a pivot table. A pivot table is a great Excel filtering tool which allows you to slice up your data in your spreadsheet in a dynamic format that you can trust the formulas and everything else. So let me show you our data tab here. And here it is. This is just a basic data field, a data tab in here. I try to keep all of my information current. It's really good to keep something like this because you can upload this into QuickBooks, into Outlook, into iContact, into Send Out Cards, into Salesforce, into so many things work with Excel. And it's so much easier if you keep everything updated in one document when you get a new program or a new application. Then it's so easy just to upload everything. I also, just for me, I make sure that when I use a formula in my data tables that I highlight them a different color just so it clues me in that it is a formula in here. Sometimes some programs want you to upload things with only the first name, the first name and the last name, or sometimes they want both names together. It's just easier to put everything in every format they could want with formulas. Makes your life much easier. These formulas over here are VLOOKUPs, and maybe we will go into these in another session. These are pretty cool because you can just create a list, so you know that when Alaska is in this cell, it will look up a list for you and say, okay, this is the region Alaska belongs to, and this is a salesperson. So just something cool to keep in mind for future use. Okay, so now we want to create our pivot table. So I'm going to click anywhere in the data here, in my data tab or my data information. I'm going to click on Insert and Pivot Table. And you see what automatically pops up. It's showing a range which does contain all of my information. You want to make sure not to have any rows that are blank or any columns that are blank in here. That will mess up the data. Also, you want to make sure that all of your columns have headers. If they don't have headers, it's going to be hard to create your pivot table looking up a bunch of blanks. So those are just some things to make sure to keep in mind. And also you can see that Excel is intuitive enough, as I said, that it's already pulled up the information, and that's probably because there are no blank columns or rows in here. However, if you had a problem where it's not pulling up all of your data, you can just click here and go down and find the last of your, here we go, last of your information in your rows and your columns, and I'm just clicking and dragging to highlight everything up here so I am assured that that's the information we want to pivot. Okay, once I've chosen that, now it's asking me, where do you want to put this pivot table report? This table, and you can put it in an existing worksheet in this one or in another one, or you can put it in a new worksheet. I want to keep it in this document, and I want to do it in a new worksheet. It just makes life simpler because usually when you have data tables like this, you got a lot of information in there, and I don't want to go hunting for my pivot table. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK here, and there you go. It's pulled up a blank pivot table template here. I'm using Office 2010, just so you know, but these methods will work with earlier versions of Excel as well. So the main thing that I want to filter on, what I'm really interested in, is when these contracts are expiring here. So my main filter that I'm going to filter this whole report on is going to be a contract end year, as well as contract and month, and all I'm doing is clicking and dragging and putting these under the report filter section. The next area that I want to look at is for the column area is region, so I'm going to put region over there. And then I want to look for the client name. I'm going to put the client name over here for the rows. And you see it automatically pulls up all my clients and all of my regions, but there's no information in here. There's no sales or anything else. So what I want to do is I want to look at the purchase price. That's my whole reason for living there. So I'm going to click in there and voila, it has pulled everything up there and categorized it correctly. So I can see all the sales by Al Franken and what region they're in. You can get everything here at a really good glance. I don't like the format of this though. I don't like how this is looking. I want to see this as currency. What I can do to change the format for this whole thing is either I could click as you normally do in Excel and drag and then go to format cells and choose that, etc. I don't want to do that. I am going to just click anywhere again or be anywhere in my data area, not out here, but in my data area. Right click, and I'm going to go to value field settings, and you see it's telling me it's summing the purchase price right now. I could have a count. Let's just do that real quick. Here's the count. Here's how many contracts. Barbara Boxer has 2 contracts in the Western region, so I just wanted to show you that real quick. So I'm going to keep it sum. And I want to change my number format. So I'm going to click on number format. Again, you could have number, you could have a percentage, obviously date and time wouldn't apply, but you could have many other options here for this. But I want to see it in currency and I don't care about the pennies. So I hit OK. I'm hitting OK again and voila, it's changed it for the whole table here. So I'm liking this pretty well so far. But I don't really like this format. I want to change this format. I want to make it prettier for me. So I'm going to go to Design up here at Pivot Tools. I'm going to click this down arrow and I'm going to look at these different designs. All I'm doing is hovering over them and I can see what they look like before I actually click on them. I kind of like this one here, so I'm going to click on it. And it's totally reformatted my entire pivot table. Okay, and also I'm going to click back in here. If you click back in here, you're going to get this pivot table tools. If you're outside of it, you're not. It only applies to your table, so that's only when it pops up. I don't like the way some of these columns are smaller and some are bigger, and I don't like that. So I'm going to go to Report Layout, and I'm going to go and show an outline form. So it's going to standardize everything for me, so I think that's kind of pretty. So now that I've got it kind of prettied up and to where I could look at it well, I want to focus on contracts expiring in the year 2013 and in the month of March. And there you see Tom Udall, his contract's coming up. I know I better get on the stick right now so I can retain this customer. I can also go in here and I can look at several months. If I click on here, you see it's only doing one at a time. I have to click on the select multiple items, and then I can choose as many or as few as I want. So now I have the months that I have selected here, and I can see all the contracts that are expiring for the in 2013. It's just a really quick, easy way to get your information quickly. How cool is that? You're on the phone with somebody and you can pull this up and you could talk about the whole central region right on the phone, and it took you a matter of seconds. Okay, so maybe I don't want to see this by client name, or actually I don't even like calling that client name. I'm going to print this out. I want to change this to Congressman. So I can't change it in here. This is pulling from my data. So I'm going to go in my data and I'm going to change it from client name to Congressman. Okay, I've changed that in my data tab. All I did was pop over there. I'm going back into my pivot table. Uh-oh, didn't change it, Laura. Well, I need to refresh the information in here. It's still looking at the old information. So again, not outside, but inside, anywhere in here, I'm going to right click and hit refresh. Uh-oh, well, you were wrong again. It didn't pull up Congressman. Well, that's because we changed the name of that field. It's no longer it's no longer client name, it's Congressman. So unfortunately, Excel is not smart enough to know that. So I'm going to pull down the Congressman back in, and there we go. Everything is as good as gold there. And again, this is dynamic. You can change this however you want to. Maybe I don't want to see the region. Click and drag out, put in product purchased. Now I can see the sales by product purchased. I don't want to see the client's name. I want to see the salesperson name. How well is the salesperson doing? We can change this to look at all sales. So we can either send gifts and kudos to our salespeople, or we can get the stick out. We can look and see how well they're doing here. Maybe we also want to chart this. We want to make this really pretty for our next sales meeting. So we're going to click anywhere again in the data tab, not outside. And again, you see if I click outside, my pivot field listing is gone. Sometimes you may not want to see that even when you're working over here, because there may be some other stuff that you have typed over here. If you want to hide that even when you're working in here, you just right click again, hit hide field list, and it will not come back until you right click again in the data area and do show field list. Just want to show you that in case you come back in and you find that missing. Okay, so now we want to insert a graph. So all I did was click insert. Let's do a column graph, and we're going to make it a stacked one. So there you go. Look how pretty that is. We can see all of Appleton's sales by product. Maybe we want to switch that. We want to see the product and then the salesperson. It automatically updates it. And I don't really like that because it's too hard to see who it is. So I'm going to switch it back here. You could also slice and dice your data. We could click back in our pivot area to get our pivot tools. I'm going to click on options, and I'm going to insert a slicer, and I want to slice by state. I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to drag this little guy over here, and I want to just look at Alaska sales. There you go. I want to look at California. Unfortunately, since my data listing has so few salespeople in that area, it's not picking very much up. But you can see the power of this tool as well. So you could get a quick look at however you want to see it. Let's see here. I want to also show you how in your data tab, I'm going to go back to my data tab. If you want to add more information in here, what you don't want to do is you don't want to go to the end and add a new column in here. You've already told your pivot table where to find this information. You've told it to look through A through N. It's not going to know to pick up O. So what you need to do is if you're going to insert a new column, you need to insert the column in your data field already. The same applies to the rows. If you're going to add information, don't go to the very end and start typing, or your pivot table is not going to know where to find it. Also, another couple of good tips to remember is always make sure to save your document. If you've ever worked in Excel a lot, you've been working on this one sheet, and something happens and it messes up, you've lost your information. So what you want to do is save frequently, first of all. When you like something, you like the way you did it, hit save right away. Secondly, whenever you make updates, especially to your master document here, you want to make sure to give them a new name. Say, like today's date, 2013-02-05, client listing. So I know next week when I go in, I'm going to name it 2013-02-14, whatever the date may be, client listing. So then that way, if something ever happened to your latest and greatest document, you always have something to fall back to without having to recreate it. I hope that you have found this learning session helpful, and you can see the benefits that may be applicable in your own business. If you have any questions or comments about this video or something else you'd like to see, I hope to hear from you. Make sure to contact Southeastern Admin for all your virtual and secretarial needs, and I wish you the best days. Thank you.